Hi guys, I'm Jazzy and welcome to my first ever booktube video. I literally can't believe that I'm saying that right now. That sounds absolutely crazy, but huge shout out to some of my friends for just saying just take the jump because it's gonna be so fun and I'm so excited. Let's just hop right into this video. So first, I want to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Jazzy. I started my book content journey over on Instagram. So I have a bookstagram. It's at JazzyBreads, just like this. If you want to, you can follow me on Instagram. I post a lot of like reviews and just random bookish things. I've also started dipping my toes into TikTok. TikTok kind of scares me, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like it's just a platform that I don't fully understand. Instagram, I feel like I've got the aesthetics down. Like I love aesthetics and I love photography. I'm a full-time like wedding photographer. So photography and books just like made sense. If you want to follow my TikTok, you can. It's also JazzyBreads. It's JazzyBreads across everything. I'll definitely be sure and link those down below. But what are we doing today? So I've read probably, I don't even know how many books in my lifetime, but today I want to talk about my top 10 books. Like, bury me with these books, please. Inject them straight into my veins. Those books. Because what better way to get to know me than by knowing my favorite books? Here we go. These are in no particular order too. So yeah. Anyway, so first I've got Perks of Being a Wallflower. This book is about Charlie, who just starts his freshman year of high school after going through a traumatic experience with one of his friends the year before. It's basically just taking you through his journey through high school. The found family in this is so good. I love them so much, and it's told in a really cool format because you're actually getting his letters to himself, which I'm not gonna ruin like why he's writing letters, but it's written in a really interesting format and I absolutely adore this book. The movie too is like my favorite book to screen adaptation literally ever. It's just my favorite movie ever. It does deal with some heavier topics, so maybe if you're sensitive to those heavier topics, make sure to check trigger warnings with this because there could definitely be some triggering content in it. Next up, we've got none other than Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. This is a part of the Knock 'Em Out series. I actually rated every single book in this series 5 stars for different reasons, but this one was my absolute favorite. I just really enjoyed Nash and Lena and their relationship, and also the mental health representation in this was just so cool to see because it's actually done through the male, which I really appreciate because a lot of times men in books just seem like perfect and broody and like they don't have any problems. Like obviously they have problems, but it's not like mental health issues. I feel like that always goes through the like female main character who's like struggling with their mental health. This book does that really well. So if you don't know what the Knock 'Em Out series is about, it's a small town romance series that follows a set of brothers and their best friend. Like each book is about one of them. Like I said, this one follows Nash and Lena, and Nash is the chief of police in this like small town of Knock 'Em Out. He is dealing with like some traumatic things that happen in book 1. No spoilers here. Go read book 1 and book 2 and literally all of them. He's dealing with that trauma, and then Lena ends up moving in next door and there's a little romance that happens. These books are literally fantastic because not only are they romance books, they have a little bit of a subplot of suspense and there's like a little mystery thing going on, so that's also fun. Next is The Ballad of Never After. This is by Stephanie Garber. This book is the second in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. It's the series that comes after Caraval, if you've ever heard of that, but Caraval is basically set in this world where there's a game and like you don't quite know what is real, what's fake, but the series just expands, and then this is a part of like that expanded world. This book specifically, this series is following Jax and Evangeline. Jax is the Prince of Hearts and Evangeline she's just a girl. She's kind of naive and she just is looking for true love, and then her like person that she's supposed to marry like breaks up with her, and then it just tailspins into this like huge thing where she's forced into asking Jax, the Prince of Hearts, for a like favor, and then he of course bargains with her, and then chaos ensues. And this is the second book in the series, but let me just say, read Once Upon a Broken Heart if for nothing else than to read this book. This book is so freaking amazing. I will say it does end on the cliffhanger, but the next book is out literally so soon, like in a couple of weeks by the time y'all are seeing this. So pick it up. It's so good. Okay, next thing I want to talk about is none other than the ACOTAR series. These are my two favorite books in the series. First, we've got ACOWAR. I kind of consider these, I know this is so stupid, but I kind of consider these like two different series. This is the original trilogy of ACOTAR, and then this is the expansion. And so that's why I have them both on here. But ACOWAR is the third book in the ACOTAR series. ACOTAR is about a girl who is kind of the like breadwinner in her family basically, and one day she like goes out to hunt and she ends up shooting a wolf that happens to be a fairy, and that makes the fairies really angry. They like come and they like take her over to this place called Prythian, and she's forced to live out all her days in Prythian. But Prythian is actually struggling because they're like fighting this darkness, I guess that's the way to say it without spoiling it. And yeah, the whole ACOTAR series just literally goes crazy. It kind of goes off. But that first book, the last 100 pages are chef's kiss. Like nobody does the last 100 pages like Miss Sarah J Maas. And so that one's amazing. But then ACOMAF, I know y'all are probably being like, Jazzy, where the heck is ACOMAF? I like this book better. I like that the relationship that ends up forming in the series is like already developed. That found family is just so prominent in this book, and it's just absolutely amazing. And then I'm also such a fantasy girly, and so I actually really like the politics in this. I like the war that's going on. Don't even get me started on the ending with Cassian and Nesta. If you know, you know. But this book takes the cake for me. There's something about it. I just love it. And then also, of course, I couldn't not talk about A Court of Silver Flames. Like I said, I kind of consider ACOWAR like the part of the original trilogy, which is why I also included this, because this book has like a special place in my heart because it follows my favorite couple in the series right now. It's Cassian and Nesta. I have never related to a character much more than I have related to Nesta. Like the way that she handles grief, the way that she really finds herself through her own found family, not even the found family we find in like the first 3 books, but she finds her own and she makes her own path, and she's overcoming so much. And it's just like a grief and a guilt, but also like almost self-inflicted pain warranted. And her journey with that and Cassian's whole perspective in that and the way that he helps her through it is like absolutely beautiful. It's mind-blowing, and honestly, it has one of my favorite like lines and concepts I've ever read about, which is just that like, keep reaching out your hand. No matter how much people push you away or are struggling with their own stuff, keep reaching out your hand, and like one day they'll see that you've stuck by them this entire time and they'll give you their hand back. And so that got kind of deep and philosophical, but I could cry. I literally love this book so much. The next book I want to talk about is none other than Kingdom of Ash. I'm kind of getting all my like Sarah J Maas out of the way. But this is my absolute favorite in the Throne of Glass series. I don't know if it's just like because everything comes together, and I love seeing all the different plot lines and all the different relationships, and I was sobbing. I mean sobbing, like viscerally crying in the first 200 pages of this book. It was nonstop emotion and drama. If you don't know what the Throne of Glass series is about, it's about this notorious assassin named Selena who is recruited by the king of Adarlan to compete in a competition trial sort of thing to become the king's champion. So basically just kill people for the king, and that's what the first book is about. But this is a 8-book series, yeah, and so it literally like how you think it starts. Like, if you're not digging the first 2 books, keep going, because this series goes absolutely insane. This is the ending. This is the very last book, so I can't say much about it, but it's beautiful. The way that it wraps up, it's so scary sometimes ending a series that is that long, because when you're that invested in, like, those characters are like your friends. If the book ends badly, or like there's no closure in the end, you're gonna be upset. This book ends the Throne of Glass series literally so well, and I sobbed. I was put back together, and then I was broken again. And evidently I like that in books. So take it or leave it. Okay, the next book on my all-time favorites list is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. This book is insane. I think it's one of the most unique magic systems and fantasies I've ever read before. Basically, this book follows Elspeth, who lives in a world that's being overtaken by this mysterious mist, and in order to get rid of the mist, they have to fully put together the magical deck of cards. And so each card in this world has like a special power. For example, one card gives you infinite beauty. But also, all of this magic comes at a cost. So though you get infinite beauty, you also become heartless. So it's like each card is a different thing, and each card has a different consequence. But Elspeth is one of what they call the infected, and so she has like a special ability that basically has to do with this nightmare that lives inside of her head, which is literally insane. It's so amazing. The gothic atmospheric vibes of this is so good, and the little hint of romance is, I'm in love. I would definitely say that it's more fantasy than it is romance. Like, there's a lot of politics, there's a lot of world building, not too much. Like, it's a relatively short book, so it's not too overbearing. The politics are a little bit complicated, so yeah, just know that going in. But there is a romance subplot, and it is, I live for it, honestly. This is definitely top tier. The next book comes out this month, so that is so freaking excited. I'm so excited. I actually got the ARC and I have already read it. It will be in a reading vlog that's coming out on Thursday, but I am literally beyond pleased with this duology. It's probably one of my favorites of all time. All right. Next, we're gonna move on to the book that broke the internet. If you have spent any amount of time on booktube, bookstagram, book talk, you know you love Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing is about Violet Soaringale. She is destined for the scribe quadrant. She lives in a world where like they go to this school, and there's different like sections of the school. So there's like a healer quadrant, a writer's quadrant, scribe quadrant, and then there's another one, but I can't remember what it is. But she's destined for the scribe quadrant. That's what she's always wanted to do. But her mom is the like commander in general of the army, and so she ends up forcing her into the writer's quadrant, where you literally have to learn how to ride a dragon or you die. There's no other alternative. There's no other option. So very high stakes fantasy. There's dragons. It's amazing. It's also got an enemies to lovers plot in there. I won't even call it a subplot. It's a huge part of the story. He is the rebel's son. So I literally love Xaden so much. He's one of my favorite book boyfriends literally of all time. And so this book is just, it's amazing. Personally, like in my opinion, it's definitely worth the hype, especially if you've never read a fantasy before. I feel like this one is a great one to just pick up, and you can just jump right in because the world building is really easy to understand. Next is one of my all-time favorites, obviously, because that's what we're talking about, but it's The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This book is absolutely insane. It's about a girl named Araya. She is the adopted daughter to the vampire king. She's orphaned when she's really little, and so she gets pulled into this world with the vampires while she's human. So like she is the prey in this society, but she gets the opportunity to compete in a tournament competition sort of thing to the death to win a wish from the goddess Nyaxia. She can wish for literally anything. If she wants to be a vampire, she can. If she wants to move away and have all the vampires never talk to her again, she can. If she wants true love, she can have it. Then there is a Rain. He obviously is her enemy because they're literally trying to kill each other. They're forced into an alliance because that's like part of the competition, and so they go from enemies to allies to lovers to enemies to allies to enemies to... This book is a ride, okay? It's insane. I love this with all of my heart. Also, Carissa Broadbent is definitely an auto-buy author for me because her writing is just gorgeous. Like, the plot is so fast-paced, but there's still like some beautiful quotes in here. Like, it's not moving so fast that like you don't get that emotional side. Like, I feel like she balances it very well. Okay, now we're getting into probably my top favorite books of all time. If I can say that. That's kind of hard because I feel like it's always changing because I read new books and I'm like, this is a favorite of all time. This is going down in history. As of this moment, October 1st, 2023, these are my favorite books. And this one is none other than Crescent City by Sarah J Maas. I didn't even include this one with the other Sarah J Maas books because in my opinion, it's just better. Yes, the world building, what you hear, there is a ton of world building, a bit of info dumping, but overall, this book is just so amazing and beautiful. And I love the way that Sarah J Maas writes trauma and grief and that whole situation. Like, something happens to Bryce in the very beginning and then she's really struggling with this like grief and finding herself again, and that kind of self-discovery with also having that love interest like come alongside you and like make you better. He's not better than you and he's not like babying you. You're his princess, obviously, but like, are you picking up what I'm putting down? It's just so good, and I love the way that she writes this. And if you don't know what Crescent City is about, you can read it as a standalone series, so you don't have to read ACOTAR and Throne of Glass. You can just read Crescent City. But it's about a girl named Bryce. She is just doing her thing. She is partying. She's going a little crazy when one day her world is flipped completely upside down. There's a huge murder that happens and it's closely personal to her, and so she kind of goes into this like spiraling of bad coping mechanisms and habits. And then 2 years after that event, the murders start happening again. She's forced to pair up with Hunt Athalar, who is a half angel that's employed basically by the government, and he's put in the situation where he has to move in with her and they have to solve this murder mystery almost sort of thing. But it's a lot deeper than that. There's a lot more layers. There's a lot more secrets and betrayals to be uncovered, and it's just so good. And this book specifically, the ending left me shook. I cannot even explain what this ending did to me. I started my Bookstagram because I finished this book and I had nobody in my real life to talk to. That's how much this book affected me. Like, I had to find other people who had read this. And then last of all is probably my favorite book of all time, and that goes to none other than Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home. Magnolia Parks is one of my favorite series ever, but this book specifically like just did a number on my soul. So what is Magnolia Parks about, you might be asking? It follows Magnolia and BJ and their little friend group called the Box Set, and they're high society London like socialites, and they go to boarding school from the time when they're like super little until they're old and grown. And basically Magnolia and BJ are best friends, and then they start dating, and they date for like 5 or 6 years, and then BJ cheats on Magnolia. The first Magnolia Parks book is following the aftermath of BJ cheating on Magnolia, and yeah, there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of Gossip Girl vibes. Honestly, this whole series is like a million-star series for me, and that could be because of Jessa Hastings' writing alone. The way that she writes these books is unlike anything I've ever read in my entire life. Like, these people feel so real and so raw. Like, yes, they're flawed. Yes, they're making mistakes upon mistakes upon mistakes, and you will be frustrated. You will throw your book across the room. You will close it for the night because you can't take it anymore. But when you get to the end of it all, it's not done yet. There's more books still coming out. Once you get to the end of it all, these characters just become like your friends. And so I keep wanting to go back into the series and reread it more, and my other copies are like super annotated. This is my indie published version of it. I have the like UK Orion ones that are the OG covers that are annotated, but my indie covers I just have kept clean. This book takes the cake. Something about the depth in this one, after you're left with so many questions in the first one, this one just pulls on all your heartstrings. One, the fact that she ended this book the way she did, I will never forgive her, but I love her. So yeah, Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home is my favorite book of all time. The whole series too, but especially this one. Jessa Hastings, I love you. Alright guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And if you did, go ahead and hit that like button. And you can subscribe to my channel for more bookish videos, and hit that bell icon so that you never miss an upload. I'm going to be uploading every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, so I will be keeping your little bookish hearts full of all that goodness. And don't forget that you can follow me on Instagram or TikTok. It's at JazzyVReads, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye!